Killer Instinct is a modern fighting game, and we're going to be talking about our team, the thought processes we go through in order to reboot Killer Instinct, understanding what it was and what it can be, you know, given that it's been almost 2 decades since the last Killer Instinct game came out. And yeah, just like a lot of the nuts and bolts of like the decisions that we made on the game. So I think we should start out introducing our rather illustrious and large panel up here. So we can just start down on that end with Mr. Dave V.
Hi, my name's Dave Verfai. I work at Double Helix. I'm a design director on Killer Instinct.
I'll cheer for you, Dave. I'm Mike.
Cheer whenever you want. Cool.
Yeah.
No cheering.
No cheering for me. I'm a producer. I'm evil. I'm the producer from the Double Helix side. My name is Michael Willett. Nice to meet everybody.
Hey everybody, I'm James Goddard. I'm on Microsoft Studio side. I'm a combat advisor.
I'm Ken Lobb, kind of long-time game industry dude. Worked on Killer Instinct 1, 2. I'm partner creative director over all the published games for Microsoft.
I'm Adam Eisgreen. I'm a creative director at Microsoft. I oversee all of our digital titles.
My name is Campbell Tran. I am a system designer at Microsoft and washed-up fighting game player.
Hi, my name is Soren Riddig. I am the producer on Killer Instinct on the Microsoft publishing side.
Hey, I'm Dan Fernacey. I'm a game designer on Killer Instinct, and I'm an ex-Smash player.
Was that X before or after Nintendo's announcement?
No, before.
Too soon? Too soon?
All right, so we know everyone, but we could talk about a little bit about like what everyone's done up to this point. You know, it's like, hey, you know, why are we up here? And you know, hey, why is Killer Instinct in good hands with us? You know, so hey, Ken, let's start with you. You're the master blaster up here.
I'm the old guy, so let the old guy talk first. Okay, I get it. So I'll try and make this quick. So I've been in the game industry about 25 years. Started out small NES licensee, Taxan. Went from there to G.I. Joe, a couple other cool games. Went from there to Namco, where I worked on Splatterhouse 2, Rolling Thunder 2, Splatterhouse 3, a couple other games that weren't quite as cool as those. Then got the opportunity to come to Nintendo. One little interesting story, though, is just before I left Namco, I hired my good friend James Goddard to come into Namco, and I'd been thinking about doing a fighting game at the time, and we met with the developer, Visual Concepts. I was looking for somebody that could take over the role of lead design on that game, and when I left it in his good hands. He morphed what we had originally talked to pretty awesomely over into Weapon Lord. So I went to Nintendo, and after I was there just a few weeks, make my first trip to Rare. They were working on a fighting game, which strangely enough was called Brute Force. It was kind of a Mortal Kombat clone, had a block button, 5 buttons, no combos, and I kind of unleashed this idea I'd been thinking about of open, auto double, and finisher, combo breaker, ultra combo. After we started working on it, you know, after that, linkers came in, you know, we fleshed out all the characters. I had a team of about 20, some of the best fighting game players in the Northwest working for me to help balance it on the Nintendo side, and I was traveling way freaking too much, going back and forth from Rare for all the years that I was at Nintendo, basically. Obviously worked on GoldenEye, worked on KI2, other stuff. Came to Microsoft right after the GameCube shipped. I had seen what the GameCube was going to be for about the next year, and I was kind of addicted to playing Gotham, and met Ed Freeze, and he brought me over, and that made more games. And now, as I said, I'm creative director over all of the published games. So probably about 80% of the stuff that we ship out of Microsoft First Party is managed by one of my creative directors. And as Adam mentioned, he's one of my 2 leads. I have one guy who manages, it's pretty much most of the retail stuff, because Adam is doing some of that as well, and then Adam over all the digital content. So basically everything that's come out from XBLA for the last 3 years, 2.5 years, Adam has been overseeing a team of designers, Dan being one of them, to help make sure that we make the best stuff possible. And to give Adam credit, I've been trying to re-kick off Killer Instinct for years. It's obviously something I care very passionately about. team, availability, timing, everything kind of never worked out right. Adam comes on, and after a few months, he's like, we should make Killer Instinct. And I'm like, go, figure it out. We wrote an RFP together, which was like 90% his. They walked around the world, found a bunch of different developers, and that's how we met Double Helix. I'm sure we'll get to that more of that later, but they did a phenomenal job of showing this passion-filled prototype as their pitch to the RFP, request for proposal, where most people came back with interesting takes on what Killer Instinct could be. They handed us a build, and it's like, okay, this is fun. Yeah, we'll take a risk on them. That was late last year, and now we're at EVO. Sorry for going so long. Someone's going to have to tell me to shut up every once in a while.
Never.
It's covered a lot.
Good stories.
Cool. So yeah, what about the Double Helix side? Mike and Dave.
All right, I'll start off.
You're the taller one.
Taller goes first. So I joined Double Helix about 8 years ago. Initially, I was more sort of on the programming side and doing character scripting. So that's sort of where my roots were. And at Double Helix, I've worked on a bunch of games. You know, we used to do mostly licensed games in the past. So worked on Da Vinci Code, and then I worked on the Silent Hill game. Did a lot of combat design there. And that's really where I sort of started to get more into combat design and pro scripting on that side. From just sort of personal standpoint, I really got into fighting games competitively when I started playing Third Strike a lot. We got a lot of good Third Strike players in our office. Ed Mott used to work there. Ben Curtin. So all that sort of really got us into it at that time, and have sort of been playing and you know, sort of digging them ever since. When this opportunity came on board, you know, it was just a chance of a lifetime. We played a lot of KI 1 and 2. Mike's got the cab, which we'll talk more about in his. Used to be in his house, now in the office. So.
Wife won't let it in the house.
So we've just been, you know, we're so excited to have this opportunity, and you know, with Ken and everyone on the helm, it's been a great partnership. So we're looking forward to it, and hope you guys are digging the game so far.
All right. A little background on me. So I used to be accused of being addicted to video games, and so after graduating, I had a degree in film and television, quite honestly, but I'd been working at the local EB Games when those used to exist down in San Diego. And a friend of mine, he was always trying to get a job in the industry, and I don't know if you guys remember the One Up Show. He was the producer on that, and he eventually went off. His name was Ryan O'Donnell. So we were really good buds, and I wound up getting a testing job over at SCEA, so 989 Sports. And that was super exciting to work 100-hour weeks all the time in QA. But I met a lot of like high caliber fighting game fans. So the Dreamcast was still on life support, but everybody was still playing Soul Calibur because the game was so awesome. And then when
Cap SNK, what were you playing? I like Soul Calibur, but I mean, come on.
That came out. That came out a little bit later, and then everybody was playing Garo and Third Strike and W Impact and everything like that. So, and then we also like, I know other people didn't like it, maybe got some bad reviews, but I loved playing KOF 98 and Dream Match. So that was one of the other games that we played. So shout out to SNK. So I met a lot of guys, played a ton of different fighters, and started getting super competitive. So I wound up leaving Sony and going to a startup down in Carlsbad, which would later become High Moon, but it was Sammy Studios. And so we got to work on a lot of Guilty Gear projects that were coming through the doors, which was super exciting. Started meeting even more like FGC guys. And so eventually there was like this big merger with Sega, and a lot of us just got a big Kaiser wave, and we're all let go. And so then I landed at the Collective, which had done a lot of games that I thought were really, really cool, like Buffy, that James worked on, and iJet, which is Indiana Jones and Emperor's Tomb. And I had an opportunity to jump on as a production assistant, and I immediately seized it. And it was the brothers were Scottish?
The Hair Brothers.
The Hair Brothers. Heavy, heavy drinkers. So I was like, this is the best job in the world to have. So the hours were long, but there was a awesome amount of camaraderie. So that's where I met Dave. We both kind of started around the same time, like in 2005. And so a lot of guys that played fighting games were there. A lot of heated competition. Fred Corchero, who's also a designer on the game, also worked at the Collective back then before he took off and now is back with us as a senior designer on Killer Instinct, which is small world. Yeah, Dave Winstead also at the time. So Dr. Dave. So this huge pedigree of fighting game players, which is like super awesome, and that's where I really started cutting my teeth in production. But before I went to the collective, I had built my first arcade machine. So I had purchased. Someone had taken a Super Dodgeball machine, so one of those nice 4-panel, big old school arcade machines, and put in a Tekken 2 conversion kit, which I later gave the board to Dr. Dave. And then I converted it to play basically all PlayStation 2 and Xbox games, and then later just for Xbox 360. But this is the thing that goes with me everywhere that I go. I love arcade games, love fighting games, and everywhere I can go, if my wife lets me, the cabinet comes with me. And so that's kind of a mainstay. And people will see probably footage of it later on as we do more stuff for KI. But yeah, so eventually Collective merged with Shiny and became Double Helix. And then we were presented with this awesome opportunity that just kind of like, I don't know, to us kind of landed out of nowhere. They're like, hey, how would you guys like to pitch for the next Killer Instinct? And like everyone's eyes just got like as big as saucers, and we're like, are you serious? Like couldn't believe it at all that someone like would give us that kind of opportunity. And so we just took the bull by the horns and went after it. So lots of design documentation and then building out the prototype. But yeah, we desperately wanted to work on a fighting game. I think as Batista put it, it's like this is the pinnacle for any like combat designer or any fan of the genre to be able to work on a fighting game. So that's kind of the story up till now for me.
Yeah. All right, really quickly, Mr. Goddard, Mr. Weapon Lord.
All right, I'll try and make this quick. I'm not known for being succinct, but so I'm James Goddard is one of my handles there. I am about 22 years in. I started at Capcom. I was apprenticed by Yoshi Okamoto and Akira Nishtani, the Japanese guys who were responsible for great things like Final Fight 2 and pretty much all the early 1990s Capcom madness. I was an apprentice on Slam Masters, on Captain Commando, Punisher. I helped turn around and ship D&D Tower of Doom. And then I was also on the marketing side, because my job needed to be 2 parts in order to pay me back then at $8 an hour, and and I started running a bunch of the Street Fighter tournaments. I did the first full California Street Fighter tournament back on Street Fighter 2 in 1991, and back then we thought it was pretty badass with 256 players, just in NorCal alone, and 16 hours, 14 cabinets, and it's nothing compared to EVO now. Holy crap. I was fortunate enough to get to pitch a concept which became Champion Edition, and then I was assistant balance advisor on that. I became the lead of Hyper Fighting when Rainbow Edition came out, and we thought, this is nothing, and then after playing it and realizing that, wow, it destroys your motor skills and you can't go slow ever again, I pitched Hyper Fighting, and they said, no one wants to play this, so they let me do my thing, and I got to be the co-lead on that. I did the Master Balance on Hyper Fighting, created DJ. I left during Super Street Fighter, but most of the framework for Super Turbo was laid down with the feedback on not doing awful Super Street Fighter 2. Sorry. But we said, this is what you need to do. I hired Dave Winstead from GamePro, who was known as Dr. Dave back then. He finished up Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo with putting in supers and putting in all the extended juggles that went in there. And then from there, I went on to Weapon Lord and pulled Dave Winstead into that, created Weapon Lord. Was not smart enough to follow all of Ken's template. Went a little bit of a different direction and went way more hardcore. Ken went smarter, and both our products went up head to head, and we know who won. That's why I'm working here now. I'm smart.
We all won. We all won, James.
Yes. I went on to decide to start doing a bunch of brawling games because that's also my roots, and built on fighting technology. I worked at the Collective and laid the base for the Slayer system, which did Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Indiana Jones. Yeah. And started high.
Buffy was so awesome. It's funny because I didn't know he was working on Buffy, but it's like I played the game and it's like I know this. You know, I ask him later. He's like, yeah, it's my game. I'm like, ah.
I went accessible on that. Yeah. I learned something as I get older. So, you know, really that's kind of the turn of my career right there. Is I founded the combat department in the collective, hired Fred Carchero, Dave Winstead, and we just basically just want to do awesome, accessible brawling games. And so later, I left and did my own thing for a long time. Came to Microsoft and working on Rise Son of Rome, which is another amazing combat game. And then these guys are like, hey, we're thinking about doing Killer Instinct. And I'm like, oh shit. Who are you thinking about having do it? Double Helix. I'm like, oh shit, that's awesome. Who do they have over at Double Helix? And then the cast of characters that are going to work on the game came to light. I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be awesome. So I'm really excited to be on board as an advisor and helping out. And these guys are just doing an amazing job. And they've got one of the best Western combat teams, period, to work on it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right, so my involvement in the Sordid Tale. So what am I, 21 years? 21 years in the games industry now. Lots of games, lots of different genres, a ton of time in fighting games, role-playing games. Well, no, not fighting games. RTS. I worked at Westwood for years and years, did almost all the Command & Conquer games. Yeah, thanks. Hell of a fun series to make. Was it EA for years? All the good ones. Yeah, after CNC 3, Red Alert 3, man, it's kind of sad. It's like seeing someone you used to go out with someone else. And you're like, really? Really? Anyway, still love them. They're doing great stuff. The new one is awesome. A lot of the spirit really came back. Anyway, but yeah, so I've been at Microsoft now for about 3 years, and about 2 years ago, back up for a second, I was a big fighting game player back Street Fighter 1 when you had the giant buttons and you had to hit them light, medium, heavy, you know, and it was insane, right? And you're like, what is this game? Street Fighter 2, of course, turned everything around, right? And that was the game I remember. I'm a Dhalsim player, and one of the things that I remember from day one is people are like, why are you playing that character? He's so stupid. And I'm like, what the hell? And I'm like, no, I think there's something to this guy. I'm going to get good with him. And played him all the way through college, which was mostly down at the USC, UCLA in the early 90s. And that was a hell of a lot of fun. There was a great scene down there between the two schools, and a lot of players that were just, this one guy I remember could sit there and smoke and play one-handed with Ryu with a cigarette and still kick your ass. It was just awesome. It's like, how are you hooking the joystick with his pinky? It was amazing. But anyway, yeah, so I've been a big fighting game player for a long, long time. And when I got up to Microsoft, the opportunity was, why aren't we doing a fighting game? We did Killer Instinct, you know, Rare, we've got Rare, why aren't we doing this? And so I started poking around, going to Rare, hey, what about Killer Instinct, you guys think? Blah? And there was a lot of discussion, went back and forth between myself and the guys on the Rare side. And it was, because I'm like, look, I really want to pursue this. You guys are busy. And they're like, oh, we'd love to, oh, we've got all this stuff going on. How can we make this work? And they're like, you know what? Keep Ken happy. That was the first rule that they gave to me, was Ken must be happy. So, okay. So, yeah, so we went off and created an RFP to go look for developers. We vetted a ton of fighting game developers. I mean, I'm not going to name names, but pretty much most of the games on the floor that you're seeing today that everyone is playing were developers we talked to about doing KI. And again, Double Helix had such passion for the project. Not just that, they delivered a prototype of another game they were working on that had an amazing combat system. Plus, you know, you may not like the game itself, but the Green Lantern game that they did had an amazing feel to it. And that's the thing that we really wanted to capture, especially in the new KI, was feel. We want a game that feels good, and it feels different, and it's fun to play. And you feel like you're succeeding while playing. And that was really kind of one of our cornerstones. And these guys really nailed it. And so, I mean, like, that's an awesome prop to you guys, because the game still captures that awesome feel. Like, from moment to moment, it feels great to play. And that's the thing that we've always been trying to hold up, and that's the thing I'll continue to drive on my side for the project, is to make sure that it always feels fun and it's got depth for people that are beginning, people that are intermediate players, and people that are pro players.
I will try to keep this under 2 minutes, so let's see how this goes. So I've been in the game industry for roughly 12, 13 years now, as a designer the whole time. way back in 92, 93, when Street Fighter 2 was new, 14-year-old Campbell-Tran was like, I am going to make Street Fighter 4. And clearly that ship has sailed, but I think we have something better here. What I bring to this project is, along with specializing in combat and systems design, I like to think that I've spent more time playing random fighting games, like of all types, than anybody in the world. I have a really crazy mystery game tournament record that kind of backs me up there. I've lost one mystery game tournament ever out of more than 10, I'm sure. But the focus I try to bring to this project is I'm trying to ensure that Killer Instinct is a good, modern, competitive fighting game. Some of the things I've tried to push along, are ideas on how Glacius can be a modern zoning character and things like that. Yeah. And lots of input on systems, mechanics, character design, all that sort of stuff. I think I've gone over 2 minutes now, but I think I got the important stuff. Let's go.
Cool. So this will be even shorter. I've been in the game industry for about the same time as Campbell, about 12 years or so. Worked at Sony for about 8 years. Worked on the first 6 SOCOM games, in addition to a bunch of other Japanese localized titles. But ever since, the big, pressure button Street Fighter games, I've been playing fighting games. Street Fighter 2 came out, changed everything. All of my close group of friends that I know today, I know because of Street Fighter. And that's was a super special thing. It reinvigorated the arcades. It created this scene where everyone came in. There was they knew each other. They were talking about the games. They were talking about the systems. They're like, what's the new tech this week? What's the new tech this year? Even though I've played Tekken, big Tekken guy, played a bunch of different fighting games. But actually, my favorite fighting game of all time is Virtual On. I lived in Japan for about a year and played Voot more than I did just about anything else, including sleep. And my eyes are screwed up and my ears are screwed up because of it. But it was an awesome experience. I saw the opportunity for this game. I heard that, I heard through the grapevine we're making a fighting game, and I'm like, what? Okay, let me get on that thing. And I whizzled my way into a producer position on Killer Instinct, and I've just been trying to wrangle all
No, you didn't whizzle your way. We were like, we want you on the project.
Well, anyway, it was just it's total dream come true for anyone who really likes fighting games. You get to work on a modern fighting game. No one gets to do that, especially in the West. So I'm super jazzed about this thing, super excited, and my job is just trying to wrangle all of this awesome talent up here, just trying to make sure that everyone, all of the major talent up here is contributing. Everyone gets heard, and all of that awesome stuff that they're talking about gets into the game. And I think you can see it when you play the game right now. The game looks amazing. It plays amazing. It's fantastic. So just super excited to work on it.
Yep. So I bring a little bit different perspective. I grew up on the N64, so I missed most of the arcades and all that experience. But so I played Smash from N64 on. I played competitively on the East Coast. My very first tournament match was versus Mewtwo King, so I had a Into the Fire kind of experience there. And when I was in college, I made a Smash Brothers fan game in Game Maker. It was like a Game Boy style Smash Brothers. And it kind of got picked up by the community, and everyone really loves nostalgia. And if you can take a game like Smash Brothers and add more nostalgia to it, then people like that. So my experience on KI has been helping out on design. I kind of, not like the casual viewpoint, but more so like someone who's trying to get into these more competitive fighting games. Can we use KI as kind of a stepping block into there? And so far, it's going really well.
So obviously our main goals with KI is when we want to bring this game back, we want to bring back all the things that people really remember about it and thought were awesome about it. So, huge combos, combo breakers, an insane announcer, a motley cast of characters, and just a lot of the, what Adam was talking about, the feel of the game, just making sure that was intact, but also making it a modern fighting game. But I want to throw a question over to Ken about, okay, we want to make a modern KI, but we want to keep it kind of, we want to keep the feel of the original game. Like, so, what were in your mind were the most important things about that, taking the original KI into account, and what we're trying to bring?
So with the original KI, my real goal was I want to make combos longer, but and this was a time when combos were tiny. I mean, obviously when KI came out, it was the first game to, within a fight, be able to do 10, 12 plus hits. And of course the Ultra Combo, although it's a little bit of show off at the end, had this, ability to push up to 100 plus, which was kind of a bug, but whatever. But what was important to me was, if we're going to do that, how do you keep the opponent, how do you keep the guy getting his butt kicked feeling like he's involved? That was the whole idea of a combo breaker. And I actually, again, I love some of the modern fighting games with long combo systems, but, and I'm a huge SNK fan. I've had every Neo Geo, all the fighting games, played the crap out of them. KI1 was actually inspired by World Heroes Dragon. The character Dragon could do this. He'd jump in, and then if you hit one of the punches, he'd go, psh, psh, and then you could basically 2-in-1 that right into his kick special. It was a 4-hit combo, and it was kind of like, that, I can build a game around that. That was kind of the initial inspiration for Killer Instinct 1. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, the thing that I wanted to have in KI1 was you should be able to do long combos, but when you're getting your ass kicked, you should still feel like you're playing the game, not like you're watching somebody doing some long string of button presses. And we failed. Where we failed was the combo breakers were a little too easy. When you were first learning, they were too hard. Once you got good, they were too easy. So one of my, I talked to the team a lot about, so my job is just make sure it's fun. Again, I overlook all the games. We play every day. Every day there's a build. I'm coming to Adam's office. We play an hour.
Multiple times.
And I want to be an equal voice, I'm not the boss. I'm just a player that plays. But I have these things, these kind of like key rules of Killer Instinct. One should be combo breakers shouldn't be too easy. They shouldn't be too hard. All right, and how do you do that in a system where you're playing with everybody from someone who's never played a fighting game up to Evo caliber? I can see a frame and I can deal with that. So we and a lot of this came from Double Helix, was these great ideas that you're starting to see come into the build now around the bluff is a perfect example. The ability to, in this build, break anything. You can break linkers, you can break end finishers, you can break super linkers. It's a couple different systems. You have to learn how to do it, but once you know, it becomes part of the game. And the bluff being something that's more recent, and some people are figuring it out. Basically, you hit the two mediums anytime you think someone is going to think that you're going to combo break. So if you think in old school, it's kind of like open auto finisher. Let's just talk about a short combo. Well, you'd see the auto and you'd break it. What ended up happening with great players in KI1 and 2 was the fights devolved to very short, unbreakable combos. It was still kind of fun, but it failed at what I was trying to build. So now you have, hey, open auto finisher. Well, I'm going to break your auto because I can see it every time. Dave. He can like sit over my shoulder and tell me that was a medium, that was a light, that was a medium, that was a fierce. It's like, you see everything. So after someone breaks you a couple times on the first auto, go open bluff. And you get the counter breaker. You basically have bluffed them into trying to combo break at a particular part of the combo. It's awesome. It suddenly takes this idea of when do I try and combo break and throws it into the tactical game of Killer Instinct. But why am I talking about that? We should talk about that in more depth. But it's more about that feature helps prove the thing I want. Let's keep the combos long. This is why I also like lockout. You make a mistake on a combo breaker, you get this kind of lockout, little exclamation point. You get 3.5 seconds to beat the crap out of the guy and know that he's not going to be able to break. And the way we've also built the game is the short unbreakable, there is no such thing. And even if you're trying to do short combos that are harder to break with manuals, you're not putting in enough damage. And then once you've put in a bunch of damage, it caches. You have to do an end finisher. And it was one of the things we added between E3 and now is the call out. So at E3 it was monster, king. Now you'll hear most of the time monster combo, but you don't hear it all the time. So when you hear combo, that means they've cashed in the damage with an end finisher. They've earned all the damage that they've gotten in that combo. It again adds to that thing that I wanted to retain the most. And again, I couldn't be happier with the game, the way the game is going right now. We're doing long combos, we're getting enough combo breakers at all levels. It's ridiculously fast, very low latency input game. Just super awesome. So that's kind of what I was trying to do, where I failed, short unbreakables, Again, my Riptor was pretty mean. I had some pretty awesome 5 to 7 hit short unbreakables. It's KI2. My Jago was pretty good, but we played a bunch of KI2 when this was just starting. And although I love KI2 and 1 to death, we sort of pushed them aside. This is the game we play every day. And the way I kind of work is I'm going to play something while it's fun. I look at builds all the time. I'll play the builds that are fun, and then I'll go bother those creative directors with, what I'm thinking about. Again, never telling them what to do, just advising, even though they're my employees. One of my mantras is, when we're talking games, we are all equals. Dan can come over and yell at me about something, even though he's several levels lower in the org. I don't care. That's his job. That's his job to come over and say, Ken, you're an idiot. This is what's going wrong, and we have the conversation. And that's another thing I think is good about the way this organization is running across these two teams, is we're a bunch of people equally passionate about making an awesome Killer Instinct.
Yeah. Cool. So, in my mind, another important thing about Killer Instinct was how accessible it was, how you could just jump in and just do amazing stuff, and I think that was what people really liked about it. You jump in and you look at people doing combos. I mean, I remember walking by the machine and saw this combo. Like, I started walking in, and about 10 seconds later, this guy was still doing the same combo, and then you hear this insane friggin' dude saying, "Rawr, combo." I'm like, what the hell is that? And people can come up and do that, and they can get excited about it. And we definitely wanted to retain that, but in order to make it like a modern competitive fighting game, it has to have the depth there as well. So that depth to accessibility thing was really important to us. We want people to get in, be gratified, but also to have like those levels of competitiveness. So I would say, like, you jump in, you can play Saberwolf, and he has this thing called like rabbit doubles. Rabbit doubles. You can just jam on a single button, just do like rah, 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 and get a crazy combo. But unless you cash it in, like say with you get all this potential damage, unless you cash it in with the proper ender, you're not going to get the damage. So it looked cool, but you're still about to lose. Yeah, it's also very easy to read. Yeah.
Oh, medium.
But great to use with a bluff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. Rabbit
Yeah,
bluff.
exactly. So there's this like really intense metagame going on. Even though you can get in and do a gratifying stealth, there are several levels of skill that you can acquire in the game. So, not sure if you guys are ready to get technical, but we can talk about you guys want to talk about the combo system and the breaker system, all that stuff. Understand that a little bit better. So I think Dave V is probably the best guy to talk about it. Ready to break it down for the people?
Yeah, so the combo system, one of the big things Torn mentioned is we wanted to keep the accessibility in the combo system, but we also wanted to update it to sort of a more modern fighting game standard. So some of the things we did is we opened up the combo system. So whereas before there was a pretty regimented structure to it, sort of the opener, double linker, double ender, potentially a super linker in there. Now the order in which you do things is much more open. You can go open linker ender, you can go open linker, shadow linker ender. We've given people a lot more depth in the combat system so they can experiment and sort of find their own path. We think that freedom is going to keep the game viable and fun to play for a long time.
Yeah, the other thing they did that I thought was really smart was I had made the mistake with KI1 and 2 saying this opener gets 2 auto doubles. So you had to learn which buttons to use for the auto double. And they were like, well, what if it's all buttons? And at first I'm like, well, that's weird, because you might hammer on one button and get open auto on the same button and maybe end finisher on the same. Well, that's a little weird. And then we get it, and it's like, this is awesome, because you don't really have to teach anybody anything. It's just do an opener, hit any button, look what happens. And then the way you change the manuals is something else you should talk about, because that was also, manuals were very strict in KI2. You had to go fierce to medium. You had to kind of buffer to get it to work right.
Yeah. So, again, for this accessibility versus sort of more pro players, the manuals is where we really started to push that. So auto double, like Ken said, you can hit any button. But there is a bit of strategy in there, right? Like the heavy auto doubles take longer, and they're much more readable, so it's easier to break, whereas the light ones are quicker. So there's some strategy, even though, for the new player, they can just sort of hit buttons and make it work. And then if you go even a level up higher, if you're really sort of pro at this game, like Mike, for instance, he's the manual king, what you can do is a manual add. And what that is basically, it's more like a link timing in Street Fighter. So if you wait till the end of your linker, you've got enough advantage, depending on which linker you did, to do another manual, and that's basically hitting any button in link timing. So depending on the linker, you'll have a different frame window, and that means you can do different manuals. So we think, that sort of gives everyone options in the combat system. There's nice depth, and it really ties in the breaker system in a cool way because, it's all about, hey, do I want to take a risk here and go for the heavy auto double or take it easy and go for the light? And now with the addition of the bluffs, it's just layers upon layers in the combat system.
I'd just add to that the manuals that they put in there are not only a little bit harder to do, but they're harder to break as a result of doing the manual. Maybe you want to cover that a little bit.
Yeah, no, so the timing windows on the different breaking opportunities are vastly different. So the heavies are about 22 frames, so pretty easy to break, whereas the lights get down more into the 14 frame range. The manuals you can only break during the hit stun of the manual. So depending on which level, that's either going to be 6, 7, 8 frames. So very tight break windows. So again, it's a little riskier to do. You don't get quite as much potential damage for the manual, but it is much harder to break. So it's going to be interesting to see that game evolve.
You should explain the
potential damage idea.
Yeah.
So potential damage is sort of at the core of the combo system. Like Ken said, what we want is long combos, but we want people to end and finish their combos. So how we're really achieving that is with potential damage. So as you do moves, auto doubles are the perfect example. Let's say an auto double does 10 damage per hit, which I think is what the medium does. So you would normally get 20 damage because every auto double hits twice. What we do is we take 50% of that damage and give it to you immediately. We call that instant damage. And then 50% of that damage becomes potential damage. And what happens is as the combo goes on, you start to build this potential damage. And you can see that in the HUD as the white bar. So it starts to get big, big, and big. But what happens is now you start to build up this potential damage and you start to get nervous because you're like, oh boy, I got a lot of potential damage, and you're afraid that the opponent might break you. So there's this sort of game of like, how much potential damage do I want to build up before I cash it in? Because I don't want to get broken, because if you get broke, you lose all that potential damage, or if you drop your combo. So there's this really sort of neat mind game of like, how much do I want to stretch the combo to maximize my potential cash in?
And I think there was this idea about, the two-way interaction, constantly keeping the player involved in the game. And we initially, I don't know, you want to talk about that, Campbell, a little bit?
Two-way interaction and constantly keeping players.
So the guy getting his ass kicked has something to do.
Yeah, so there is this kind of evolution, like from E3 until now, we've had this kind of evolution of what that means, Now you can break anything as opposed to...
Right.
Yeah.
Give me a second on this.
The combat computer is going.
It's processing right now. Before I get into this, we actually have a few more items in the combo system that we haven't talked about yet. There's also KV. Should we talk about that?
Yeah.
So what KV is, if you look in the HUD as you're doing a combo, under where it says like 50 hits or whatever, there's this bar filling up. That is essentially our infinite prevention system, where different moves accrue a different amount of KV. When KV hits over 100, the combo ends. Like you fall out just like you would in Undizzy in Marvel 2 or anything like that. Different moves have different amounts of KV. It's not uniform across the board. Other strategy things that go into it, like fierce auto doubles, don't do any KV at all. So you can make much longer combos if you do fierce auto doubles. The trade-off is fierce auto doubles are much easier to break on reaction. Also, juggles add tons of KV to a hit. Oh, that's something to talk about. Yeah, shadows don't add any. And also, we have a honest-to-goodness juggle system now, which is a huge improvement from previous games in the series. Whereas before, you can juggle like multiple projectiles or a single hit. Now you can juggle basically anything as long as the KV permits it and you're within range.
Yeah, and in KI1 and 2, all the juggles were hard-coded, and it basically meant that they were things that could be broken by great players like Mike Z. Could turn these things that we had intentionally meant to be a few different ways to juggle into some pretty crazy stuff. They were all bugs. And so you ended up with things like the 99 hit with Cinder. And it's... and so by making it a formal system, but again, by making it super open, now you've got this ability to do big, long juggles, which, of course, can also be broken.
Yeah.
Do you want to also have...
No, there's more. There is always more. Yeah, so the other thing that we had in KI 1 and 2 is the idea that you had multiple enders, right? And each ender would add extra hits to your combos depending how you ended. And you also had a fifth hidden ender. If you used all 4 of your enders before in a fight, you had a fifth ender that you could do that would add even more hits. And the way that we've converted that in the new version of Killer Instinct is we're doing below your KV meter, you now have these lights that light up as you accrue hits. That's the length of and the potential, the damage that you're going to cash in on your enders. So basically, the longer your combos go, the more hits you're going to get on your enders. And we've gone back and forth on, is that enough? Is that the right way to do it? Ken, of course, is still pushing for his fifth hidden ender. So we'll try and figure out if we can get that in somehow. But
only as an equal member.
Yes. Taken under advisement. But yeah, like we've tried to. The goal, really, the high-level goal, was to bring back all of the systems that from KI 1 and 2 in ways that we felt would be competitive in a modern-day fighter. There's a lot of really quirky rules in the first 2 KI games, right? You could only waterfall down on your autos and your linkers. Your manuals were only on your fierces. You had certain moves that were only on certain buttons on power levels, and a lot of that stuff has changed through the fighting game genre. You don't see a lot of you can only throw a fireball with light, right? That just doesn't happen anymore. And that's been one of the pushes is how do we modernize it but keep it Killer Instinct? And so the combo system has gone through a lot of that and continues to go through a lot of that kind of process. The idea of parry was one of those things that we had from the RFP, actually, but way back in the day I called it riposte, right? We were like, how do we make this a triangle, right? So that there's always interplay between the attacker and the defender at any moment in a combo, right? Instead of it just being like, oh, okay, you got hits on me, oh fine, 27 hit combo and I can't do anything, right? And I'm just put the joystick down and watch, right? That's not what Killer Instinct was about. Killer Instinct was always about you always have something you can try, always something to do. It's risky, might not work, but you always have an opportunity to try to turn the tables on the opponent and get back in the game. And so that's something that the whole combo system that we've built has been around, is trying to manifest and create a system that we can actually have that 3-way interaction between, hits, beat, bluffs, bluffs, beat, breakers, breakers, beat, hits, right? And having that triangle of interaction. And we'll continue to evolve that through the combo system. I mean, we are very much in development, right? And so everything that you guys see today, you guys that were at E3 and played, and you guys that were here today playing, the game's changed a lot since E3. I mean, there's a lot of new systems in place. The game's tuning is going on. All of your feedback, this is just a general thing that I'm just going to say now, is all of your feedback, we got to get an email or something. You guys have go to their forums. I mean, that's the best place, is Double Helix's forums. But we want to hear all your feedback, good, bad, all of it. We're here to make a fighting game that you guys want to play, right? And we want to be faithful to KI, and we also want to modernize KI. So, all this stuff that you guys want, hey, this character, and we'll get to talk about that later. Hey, this, oh my God, what about this? Is this in the game this? We want to hear all of that. And we want to hear the things you don't like too, because we want to be able to react to that. And we're building this game very differently than other fighting games. And we can actually react to community feedback a lot better, I think, than other games can. So we really want that from you guys. So even the combat system that we're talking about today, yeah, we want all that feedback, good and bad, from you. So if you see any of us walking around, you have something to say, tell us, right? Or go online. So.
Yes, doublehelixgames.com. Hit on the community page.
Yeah, so to touch on that from a different perspective, going back to KI1 and the Cinder Infinite, that was a bug, and so we tried to address it. We were worried that we were literally seeing coin drops start to fall across a bunch of arcades, and so we had to update. And for those familiar with Killer Instinct 1, there were several boot ROMs we upgraded I think 6 times, 5. The first one was before we shipped. But to do that, we literally had to send people to 17,000 arcade machines. We clearly didn't find many of them. We found most. So in any active arcade around, we found and fixed. But we're in a world today where it's not just about a modern fighting game. We are on a modern platform. So by being on a modern platform, we can do things like a bunch of the balance information will reside on a server. So as people play, if we find something that we're seeing that people are doing and not liking, because again, I think bugs that people like, I don't want to touch them. Or my equal voice would be to not touch bugs that people don't like, or that they do like, because those exist in fighting games, right? But if there are bugs that are breaking things, we want to fix them now and not have to carry a ROM to 17,000 arcade machines, or in today's terms, in this generation's terms, wait for a title update. You know, we want to be able to go out, ask the community sometimes, hey, we see this one that's a little weird. What does the Killer Instinct community think? Oh, fix it. Fixed. You know, and that's, I think, a huge difference in the way that just platforms exist today than they used to exist. Yeah, it's more like, Torrent, push that button. Fix it. It's called Torrent. Fix the button.
Being a producer, you get the fix button. You can press it whenever you want.
Build it.
Produce me a fix.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Did you have something to add, Cameron?
Oh yeah, more features of the fighting game system. Adam was talking about enders earlier, and how doing longer combos get you longer enders. We have we try to create different enders to make you do different combos in different situations depending on what's best for where you are in the match. I think Dave's probably the best equipped to talk about this.
Yeah, talk about the situational enders.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, like they were alluding to in past KIs, there was really no reason to do different enders other than you needed to do them to increase your ender count.
Now, ultra size.
Yeah, and ultra size. But it's all, they didn't really have functionally different properties. And one of the things we wanted to do, and this stretches across linkers as well as enders, is give every ender a different type. So, for instance, Jago's got 4 enders, and each of them do a different thing. For instance, his Tiger Fury ender is what we call his damage ender, right? So you're going to maximize your damage with the Tiger Fury. Whereas his Endo Kuken ender is what we call a battery ender. So that will regen your shadow meter. And you get about half a bar, about a half a bar when you do it. So
Depends on your
oh yeah, exactly. Sorry. Depending on the ender level, you get different amounts of shadow meter back. And then we have the wind kick ender, which we call the carry ender. So that pushes the guy far away. What's nice about that one, and again, this makes it very situational, is if you're near the corner and you do the wind kick ender, you'll get a wall splat, and then you can continue off that. And then his last one, the laser blade, is a launcher ender. So if you're mid-screen, for instance, so you don't have access to the wall splat, but you want to continue your combo with a juggle, you do the launcher, which is extremely powerful with Ken, for instance, when you've got Shadow Beater, because then you can follow it up with forward roundhouse into Shadow Tiger Fury. So we think it's really sort of cool to create situational combos, right? Well, you don't want everyone doing the exact same combo to get maximum damage. Depending on where you are on the screen, whether you've got meter, what your opponent's at, there's totally different types of combos. And even if, you know, we had, let's say you have your best launcher combo, you can't do the same combo over and over again anyway, because it'll get broken. So, yeah, we're pretty excited about that.
So one other thing to add to that is because it plays into the archetypes of the characters. So Jago's really effective. Well, most characters are, but he has tools to help push people into corners. That's so he can sustain pressure and use his projectiles and really beat somebody up. Where someone like Saberwolf, he has the ability to dash through his opponents, but also his linkers allow him to cross up opponents. So he can put people back into the corner or stay on top of them, and as a rushdown character, really maintain that pressure. So like kind of this leads into what we wanted to approach is each character's archetype most of the time has a really unique kind of combo feature to it. So with Jago, he has something that we call Around the World, which is basically I can start an auto double at one power level and go all the way down the line and back to the same power level. So I can, if I start at mediums, I can go lights, puncher kicks, heavies, and then back to mediums, which is really unique because sometimes people are looking for the linker to break, and then if it never comes, and then you just built up all this potential damage on someone and cashed it in, it's pretty rewarding. And then the unique feature with Saberwolf is his rabbit doubles. Now people think, oh, okay, he's just mashing the same button, it's easy to break. Well, I've gotten people, let's say, for this example, Dave, in a situation where he missed a breaker and then I went right into rabbits, and right when that X disappeared, I knew he was afraid of all that potential damage I built up and he's going to break. So I went and bluffed him immediately, and then I blew him up even more because he was locked out for an additional like 4 seconds. So I always feel real good at it. At least twice yesterday. So. Oh yeah, and so a successful counter breaker also resets the KV meter as well. So then you get to extend your combo and you retain all that potential damage you already built up. So but the thing is, if Dave didn't bite on the bluff, I'm standing out there for 27 frames just waiting to get punched in the face. Yeah, so very high risk, very high reward. But we think that's what keeps the game exciting and fast-paced, is these types of interactions. And for Glacius, his unique combo ability is he can basically do doubles from long range. And so it's really something extraordinary that we can get a kind of a ranged character, one that uses a lot of pokes, to actually be able to work within the combo system from like a mid-screen to full screen. So I was super excited when we started to see the potential of the character, and then the way that he plays now. It's kind of awesome. I've never seen it before.
So I'd like to jump in on this.
Go for it.
So all these systems are just coming together like a perfect storm. People start learning how to break, and then they see the frames that they're really used to, and then they start breaking. So then with the bluff, which you can think of a breaker parry equivalent, you intentionally start sticking out that auto double. So they see, like in Jago's medium, they see that elbow come out, and so you can actually stick it out and then bluff. So you make people really bait hard on stuff, and then they get reversed and blown up. And so kind of all of this together, plus the accessibility, it makes it so that anybody can play this game, and it's easier to play. Like, I have a hell of a time hitting one frame lengths on Super Street Fighter 4. I like to think it's just because I'm old and not because I suck. But, and I can't plink.
You don't piano, no.
You should not have to plink to hit stuff. If you're plinking, that means it's 2 to 3 frames. So anyway, so it's easier to do these things, but the mental game is really deep. So it's basically like the mental game at 200 miles per hour, and that's kind of how it's all come together.
Yeah, I'll just add one thing to that. So one of the controversial features that we had in KI2 that people either loved or hated was rock, paper, scissors, right? Certain moves just were hard counters to others. And this is kind of the example of how we're trying to address that whole thing with what we're doing with the combat system now. So instead of making something that was so specifically hard countered, we're trying to make things that fit more in an organic system, that you're constantly playing this game of Yomi with everybody, all the other opponents, and knowing your opponent and how they react. Because, we all fall into patterns. As much as we'd like to try not to fall into patterns, we do with certain moves in certain situations. Ken loves mediums. If you play against Ken during the next couple of days, always break on medium. That's like a 50% right there.
I'll learn, though.
You will.
Break me twice, I won't be using mediums.
Yeah, no.
And that means you have a 50% chance of guessing.
Or like sucker for overheads on jump-ins from a medium distance. Anyway, but the point is we all have these kind of tells, right? And so we're trying to maximize that and capitalize that on, and once you start to learn people's tells, that's when you can start getting in their heads, and we have systems that allow you to actually defeat the opponent when you know that kind of game. And it's not just about landing that first hit and getting the combo. That's part of our game. You will get hit in our game. It's not an idea of someone going perfect. Wow, that's really, really amazing. Our goal was you will get hit. You will get comboed. It's what you do in the combo and how you react to what people are doing to you that really matters in KI.
Yeah, cool. Just to close on that just for a second, I think that's I was very passionate about the scissors, paper, rock system in both KI1 and KI2, meaning at a high level, everything should be able to be stopped. Obviously, there's frames of a Dragon Punch or, Tiger Fury that are invulnerable. Of course, you have a bunch of moves that have invulnerable frames. But if I see you doing something over and over and over, I need to be able to stop it. And that was the idea that was, again, probably too hard-coded in KI2 especially. A little less in KI1, but I can go through your fireballs, I can laser sword your wing kick. All that stuff came out of KI1. What's happened now is that kind of general idea has become a systems triangle. Like you said, it's not which thing counters this, it's is he going to try that counter now? And it becomes more important than ever to learn your opponent. And you can do it fast. I mean, I played some guy yesterday who I found out later on Twitter had gone 46 straight. And I've played a lot, but I walk up thinking, okay, I'll be nice. I'll just, go a little easy. So I go easy for about 2 seconds. And then I realize, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. And he beat me in the first game. But by the second game, I'd learned what he was doing. And then in the third, we played 2 out of 3. It's like he wasn't mixing it up enough. So I broke him like 8 times. And again, to the discussion we were having earlier, he wasn't breaking me very well. So I immediately went to, well, then I'm going to big potential damage combos, and I'm going to finish them. So I only did 6 or 7 combos in the third fight. They were all 30, 35, and 40%. Again, get my damage, build up my meter, and then use it because it was, it was time to win, so to speak. This is Adam's favorite habit. He reports to me, but we're all equals. But Adam has a really good ability to not make me feel bad sometimes, and then he decides it's time to win, and it's like, gee, you seem to be kicking my ass these last 5 games. I guess. Well, the real Adam, please stand up. Yeah, he goes into win mode. But that's the idea. Is he knows we've played. I don't exaggerate. Probably 2,000 to 3,000 games of this build already. We play 20 to 50 games a day, and through that he's learned. And again, it's funny. The bluff system went in. I kind of understood it. I wasn't using it. I got mad at it because literally because I know when to break and I can read his stuff, and so I was breaking him a lot.
And I was
suddenly he's bluffing me every time, and I'm like, Durr, what am I supposed to do? I know what I should do. Nothing. And then he goes to do his bluff, and I get an opener, and suddenly it became this game of him probably thinking, is he going to try it on the first auto? Is he going to go for the linker? You can break super linkers, and maybe that's the one he's going to break. And I'm just like, wait now, and then get him, and then of course he's like swearing, damn it, I should have bluffed you there. I mean, so that retains this kind of feeling of everything can be countered, but in a way that's not so, again, hard-coded as it was back in the old days of KI 1 and 2.
Cool. So we've been talking a little bit about Glacius. You've seen him on the floor, and he's crazy and new and different and stuff. And we want to talk about him, but we also want to open it up to you guys for a few questions if you have any right now. So anyone could just raise their hand or just blurt it out or go ahead.
Hi. I had a question. I know it's been since it's been so long since the last Killer Instinct came out. It's 15 years, right?
18.
Yeah, 18.
So
Coming to your home in 1995.
Only on Nintendo Ultra 64.
That's right. Yes. That's right.
Sorry.
It being that long and since first seeing it at E3, and it's oh, this is Killer Instinct, and it looks like, oh, it's Killer Instinct, but it's not Killer Instinct. It felt so different. Has it been hard keeping that balance of trying to make this new thing that you guys want to do, but then also not be a slave to us who get mad and stuff like that?
I'll take that one from the top, and then maybe some other people can come at it from the bottom. I think from the top perspective, everybody likes KI on the team, right? So there's, and again, not to be prideful, because I know there was a lot of broken things in KI 1 and 2, but there was good shit in there, right? And the good stuff, overhead attacks, auto doubles, things can be broken, that's KI. More than maybe some of the other things that some people think. And I think what we've done is you add footsies, you put this much deeper breaker system in, you speed the game up, so it's a little bit of, you might call it Street Killer, Fighter, Instinct, Third Strike, Turbo, but
we don't have parry. You can't put the 3 in there.
No parry. So again, I think, but the reality is, if you're a KI player, and I've seen this happen now over and over and over, oh, I play KI, can I play this? Well, did you play Jago? Or did you play Saber, again, with the first 2 characters we show? Yeah. Well, he's Saberwolf and he's Jago. Go. You have the same special moves. Funny enough, because we've opened up the auto double system, even people that memorized where all the auto doubles were, of course that works, because all the auto double buttons work. And I'll find people doing that, going, this is... I'm so muscle memory, this is what happens when you're old. I do a fierce wing kick, I go to the medium auto double, because that's Killer Instinct too, right? So for a long time, I was getting broken on it over and over again, but what I was doing was, my muscle memory KI2 combos work perfectly, and then I've had to grow from there, so it's still KI. But at the same time, we've had people that love Street Fighter come over and kind of go, well, he's kind of Rue, like Jago was. There's some differences, let me tell you about this auto double thing. And bingo, within hours, they're playing something that is this hybrid. It just clicks. It feels familiar. It feels fast. Moves work. 2-in-1s pop. I mean, the game just goes. And once you start to understand, the combo system is this giant open book. I mean, we went from, I don't know, it was 10,000 combos possible in KI1. There's millions because of how you can go from anything to anything. You start thinking, hey, what if this would work? Oh, it works. What if this? Oh, that works. And could I cancel here? Oh, I can. That's what I think makes this both KI, but also sort of modern, easier and approachable. But then you get to the stuff we're talking about the way you bluff and where you counter. We haven't talked about the shadow cancel. There's a ton of depth that first goes through move complexity, but ends up at mind game, which is really where all great fighting games should end. It's about spacing, it's about timing, it's about knowing your opponent. That's how you win, not because I know how to counter and all you know how to do is win kick.
Has it been like for me, I played a lot of the first game, not so much of the second one because I just played it at the arcade. And so, like, is that another thing that you guys, still kept in mind? Is like, if you're that last stage just from the first one all the way to this one, just also making it like, gracing you into playing.
And again, especially I can answer fast and then someone can jump in. We got a practice mode that's super deep. And again, if you're familiar with any of the characters that have come over, even Glacius, although he's radically different as a zoner, his moves are kind of the same and the inputs are approximately the same. So it would take you seconds to learn the moves, and then within minutes you're doing your kind of familiar KI1 flow, open auto link or auto finish, and then you realize, oh, but wait, there's like all the combo system is this wide open thing, and you just start experimenting. And that, again, that's what I think arguably was a flaw of KI1. I used to get kind of people go, oh, it's all dial-a combos. Really? Okay. I like to listen to the community, but they were right and they were wrong. Now it's pick anything. It's the exact opposite of a dial-a combo. As long as you understand that some things open, that's no different than all other fighting games. To your other comment, I got to work a long time with Mr. Miyamoto. And I've learned many, many things. And one of the things I learned was absolutely listen to playtest, absolutely listen to the people that play your game, and you have to be smart enough to know when to ignore them. And one of his favorite lines was, if I made only games focus test teams were telling me to make, I would still be making Donkey Kong. So you have to be able to do both. You have to be able to go, this is what we're hearing. And again, I think it's what we're doing as a team. We all have our different voices. And, these guys have done a great job of when do we listen and when do we not? When are they right? When are we wrong? We should debate. And we just want to have that same kind of conversation. If the whole community is going, no, you need this thing. And it's like, but we're giving you this thing. What you hope is, oh, okay, that's good. Then can you make it do this? And, oh, you guys are right. We'll go make it do that. And have an open conversation, especially, again, in the world of we can tweak after we launch.
And that's the worst, to be honest. That's like the worst period where you guys are doing something awesome and it's like everybody gets mad at you guys for it. That's the worst.
So I also worked on, before I left Nintendo, I helped kick off Metroid Prime. So I was pretty adamant that we were going to go first person. And believe me, we heard and heard and heard. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? What are you doing? Why are you doing this? You guys can tell me. I left about 30% of the way through Metroid Prime to come to Microsoft, but I think we made the right decision of making Metroid Prime in first person. So again, sometimes you have to know, even if the whole world is telling you you're wrong, it's like, no, we're right. And maybe when you play, you'll agree. And again, I think Metroid Prime went that way.
Yeah. The thing that I get from Nintendo is that sometimes the best thing they do is when you say, screw you, we're doing our own thing.
Yep. Exactly.
Right. Do you want to add? Awesome. Sorry for hogging.
Yeah,
There's tons of questions.
So yeah, we'll take 2 more questions, then we can get into Glacius. Way back there.
All right. Is there talks about actually doing a physical copy of the game? Download it digitally, because I know some people would rather have the case instruction disc and so forth.
You want that or not?
Yeah, I'll take that one.
But it talks about actually having a physical copy of the game.
Well, it's a digital game right now, and and that's the plan for the game. And actually, that enables us to do a lot of the things that we want to do with the game. It allows us to update it, like whenever we want. It allows us to deliver content at a much faster pace. It allows us to deliver content in a much more flexible way, and we think that's definitely the right way to go with the game. So that's my kind of sneaky way of evading that question.
So boss, this is where the boss can step in.
Yeah, I was about to.
Yeah, so we just shipped Minecraft on disc. Is maybe a good example. We're building this as a digital game, right? And that's what it's being built as. Did that mean that when at some point we might ship it on retail? That's very possible. But as we're sitting here today, this is a game that's meant to be. This is next generation XBLA. That's the way I like to think about this game. And again, we're not going to announce pricing or anything until Gamescom, but we're going to price this the way you might expect a digital game to be priced.
Yep.
Don't read too much into that, but...
Go.
First of all, I come from Mexico, where we don't really have a KI scene. We used to have like 2 machines, KI1 and KI2. That's it. and only 2 machines and 3 people playing. So it was a great game, but really hard to learn some stuff, especially when there was nothing until Nintendo 64. Anyway, the question is, we didn't have a community back then, but right now with all the online stuff and everything, there's this chance to have online tournaments and all these things that all the other games are not doing the right way. They don't have lobbies where you can kick people out if they are just trolling everybody else. And they don't have the right feature. Is Killer Instinct going to have the right set of things for online stuff? Since it's a digital game right now. Also, are we going to have a special collector's edition of KI in the future? Are there plans for that? Because, come on, it's KI1, KI2, and KI3.
I can take this.
So we're very invested in creating an awesome tournament system for this to run online. That's one of the things that we really want the game to uphold. We're not ready to talk about all of the features that we're going to have yet, but you've seen a lot of what the Xbox One can do. There's a lot of neat things that we've shown through our releases about how you can snap things, you can have things running simultaneously. Twitch, you start reading into that and you start putting the pieces together. What could we do if we started thinking about that kind of scenarios with tournaments and people online and digital? And you can start to kind of think of what we might do in that realm. So that's really all I can say on that one.
The only thing you should add that you can also do this in a hotel room.
Yeah, the other thing too is that these features that we want to do not only will extend to online only. If your box is disconnected and you're sitting in a hotel room playing with your friends or on a couch and you're constantly swapping in and out, it'll also work. So we very much want to have features that you can even do that, just set up tournaments with your friends. Hey, 8 of you, and you just start sitting down. You know, I know a lot of people are like, oh, that Kinect camera in the room, I'm scared, blah. But the coolness of being able to sit down, the controller pairs itself to you when you pick it up. It knows your buttons. It knows how you like to play. It knows what characters you want to play. You can just say start and go. It knows who you are in the tournament bracket, so it'll just automatically do the matches correctly. I mean, there's a lot of neat features that we can start to do that you couldn't do right now, and we can't do that without having those kind of things built into the box, and that's one of the reasons that we've kept them in, is there's a lot of really cool stuff coming for it, and those are the kind of features that we want to uphold for the tournament, online or offline. So it's going to be a big push for us.
All right.
Yeah. So like if you have a character you love, it might primarily select that character already. Your buttons are already configured. You know, based on you picking up that controller, it knows it's you, so it can do the leaderboards correctly. All that stuff is possible with the Xbox One. Mid-fight too. So literally, here you play. You give me your controller, it reconfigures it to me. Yes.
Just keep your shirt on during grand finals.
Yeah. Yeah, please do that. Please.
Way in the back right there. One more. Way in the back.
Just a couple of quick ones. The first one with the whole bluff system, if I'm understanding it correctly, like in the anime fighters, if you will, there's a term called baiting the burst. Is that effectively what it is? It's just more like if someone tries to break you, but you know they're going to, so you make it think they are, but they try to do it, they mess up.
In a sense, it kind of is. So at any time during the combo, it doesn't matter if you're in your opener or your linker, during a double, whatever, you can bluff at any time. So for example, if someone already missed a breaker and they have the X over the head, I like using this example because we kind of put a sense of time to it. So right as that X is about to disappear, most people are in a panic and they're going to want to immediately break. So what you would do is you would time your bluff that so when you go into that pose, you're for sure going to get hit by their counter breaker. And so when their counter breaker comes out, their combo breaker comes out, then a successful bluff leads to the counter breaker and allows you to go back into combo. So essentially it is like baiting out a move, but it's at such a fast speed. And the thing is, you need to make the right read. Because if you bluff unsuccessfully, you're just in a set of recovery frames, and now you're in danger.
Yeah, you're free.
You're free, basically.
Yeah. And with that lockout thing, because I know you say if you mess it up, you get stuck for like you said, like 3 or 4 seconds. Is that actual seconds or in-game seconds? There's a big difference.
That's actual seconds.
Yeah.
But when you get hit about 50 more times during those 3 seconds, it feels like 20.
Yeah, and that's a feature we're going to keep working on, right? Because 3 seconds means something different to all of the characters, right? So there's an interesting opportunity of like 3 seconds locked out when you're playing against Saberwolf. Saberwolf can rabid you into infinity during that time, whereas some other characters can't get as many hits in. So we're going to keep going back and forth on figuring out what the right balance is in order to tune lockout to be something that's compelling for all the characters.
And the KV system ultimately governs it all, so...
Yeah.
You know, even if you... so one of the things that happens is the person may get locked out, but it's near the tail end of your combo, and you're already pretty deep into KV, so you're like, oh man, I can't blow him up as bad. You gotta finish up. Sometimes you get greedy like me. I see that red, and I'm like, oh, I can keep going. And it's like, oh, I blew him out on KV instead.
Okay, one more, and then we'll move on. Then we'll move on. Yep, go for it.
Are you guys going to have GPO?
Good
we
question.
will be using a rollback style netcode, and we have been in talks with Tony, so for advisement.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Cool. So I have a question for Dave. So why is Glacius a zoner now?
Good question. Well, Mike alluded to this earlier, but one of the things I think in past KIs, especially 2, is everyone sort of felt like a rushdown character. There weren't a lot of different archetypes. And one of the things we definitely want to change with this new revamped KI is to give everyone the character they want to play. So we're going to support, what we sort of call the triangle of gameplay. We're going to have sort of the rushdown character, Saberwolf, a zoning character, and then potentially a grappling character at some point. And then right in the middle, sort of the balanced character is Jago. So we want people to be able to play with different styles. We want people, to be able to explore and find different characters that they sync with.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think
go for it.
Just the one quick add there. You mentioned it earlier, but Glacius is a zoner that works in the KI system. The long-range auto doubles into linkers that pull you in and then enders that push you back away so you're back in zone is like, it works. It works amazingly well. Yeah. I was kind of surprised. Again, just to be honest, I'm watching sort of from the outside-ish. I play a lot, but I watch these guys design Glacius, and it's like, wow, that's complicated. Is that going to feel like KI? How can I read these weird spike things, as an example? His auto doubles from range, these ice spikes out of the ground. Well, the weak, medium, and fierce do different things. One pulls you in, one pushes you out, one goes straight up. So you can read those the same way you can learn to read the elbow or the big hit from Jago that I know is fierce. So even though he's completely different, it still works. And we move to someone like a grappler, we want to do the same thing. How do you make something feel like completely different than Rushdown, which has been basically what all KI was, and yet still has a combo system that is familiar, breakable, works within our overall set of systems.
Yeah, one thing to add to that, and actually Campbell should talk about this because he definitely pushed a lot of the design for Glacius is, for me, and I think everyone here, KI is a more aggressive game. It's, sort of over the top. And when designing this zoning character, Glacius, Campbell really challenged us. And he's like, hey, let's not just do the standard get off of me, keep away zoner. Let's create a zoner that has some teeth, that people have to fear even when you're behind in life. So maybe jump in on that a little bit, Campbell.
Sure. So having played tons of fighting games and being pretty close with the community, it became pretty clear to me, at least these days, zoning characters aren't very popular. Nobody likes seeing Guile win or Dalzin win, or I can go on and on here. Yeah, Morgan, yes.
Yeah,
this. And so we started thinking about why that is, and there's a few things. Zoning characters, by nature, they're low-risk, low-reward characters, and the perception is they're just kind of putting up a big wall of shit on the screen, and it's up to the other guy to deal with it. And it looks like if you don't know what's going on, that the zoning guy is kind of playing a one-player game, and typically they're nickel and diming you to death. It takes 80 seconds for them to kill anybody, that sort of stuff. Not very fun. So what we tried to do here is the idea of a medium risk, medium reward zoning character. So instead of, again, putting up a big wall of shit and just saying deal with this, we are trying to make a guy the idea of mixing you up from anywhere on the screen. So he's earning his hits. He's reading the way you move oh sorry, the guy playing Glacius is trying to read the way you move, put something in the way of that on the way there. So like you, oh my God, this is so much harder to explain at 10 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so.
Yeah, think about like what you're talking about, like with Shatter. Yeah, it's like
So like say for instance, like with Shatter, you know, you're trying to put something in the way of where someone wants to go.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So let me start from the top of what Glacius does. He has those God Ray things where the big puddle uppercut comes out of the floor. It's unblockable. When we first tell people about this, like, why is that unblockable? Are you crazy? So we've done lots of things to try to make sure that stays fair. Like the speed is pretty slow. How fast is it, Dave?
27 frame startup.
27 frames. And when you look at fighting games, like things that are hard to react to, like things that are like on the cusp of reactable or not, they tend to stick around the range of like 18 to 20ish frames. So if you're really looking for this unblockable thing, you can jump it. Now, what Glacius does to deal with that is he tosses up that hail. Yeah, this is my sign.
Cool
for hail.
particle ice thing.
ice hail.
Yes, and the inspiration of that was from Dizzy and Guilty Gear. She tossed up that ice spike, it goes up, and then it goes straight at the guy. So you try to find time to do that move. If they try to avoid it, then you anti-air them. But if they stand there because they're sitting there looking for the unblockable thing, they have to block the ice spike, which makes the unblockable guaranteed. So instead of chipping you to death, he's mixing you up. He's getting combos from all the way across the screen, and he operates under the idea of trying to find more time for yourself. Kind of a weird concept. The inspiration was from Dormammu and Marvel, by the way.
We got some Dormammu.
Yeah, you guys didn't know? And where was I going with it?
How those work together. I mean, how hail, maybe just walk through. So you set up with the hail, that gets them looking at the hail, and then you hit them with the shatter. They have to move.
Yeah.
Then what?
So, simple mix-up. He has that really long, like, icicle lance thing on the ground. It's cancelable. So if you do that straight into the unblockable thing, people get wise to that, start to move. So you do a simple mix-up, which is do that, cancel into this hail. Again, my little motion, hail. And you try to guess where they're going to be, and that is the mix-up. If you guess right where they're going to be, you force them to get hit or block the hail, and you get your free unblockables. Or you can just be really aggressive and just go for random unblockables, try to get people to land in them. It's all pretty fun stuff. Like, I personally don't play tons of zoning characters, but that guy is pretty awesome. I'm having a lot of fun with him.
Yeah, just the quick add is that we wanted to create a zoning character that actually could be aggressive when they were lower in life.
Yes.
Right? Like, the big problem is that a lot of zoning characters, once they get behind in life, unless they have an amazing comeback run, they're done. You can just kind of avoid them, plank them out, and they never get a chance. And our turnaround on that was, screw that. We want a zoning character that actually can come back, that you fear being across the screen from. Right? Okay, I'm out of, oh God, I'm never out of range. Oh God, I've got to keep moving. I've got to get somebody, he can trap me, he can get back in the fight. Again, playing back to the KI, you're always in the fight, right? It's always a two-way interaction.
Yeah. Going back to making a modern zoning character, we tried to fix the things that are not fun to watch with old school zoning characters, like when they get into these hopeless situations, like I'm saying, when they're like down to 5% life against 100% character with 50 seconds on the clock. Like, that's not doable with most zoning characters these days.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Cool. And we also wanted him to, so like, as think about a traditional zoning character, they want to keep you away. But our combat system, our combo system, is in your face. You engage with that combo system, and you're right in the dude's face. You're knocking the crap out of him, and it's very close. So it's like, okay, how do we solve this problem? How do we keep this guy a zoner, but have him engage with the system? And that's why Glacius has these the only ranged doubles in the game. Yeah, so you notice the range. So you notice, like, when you stick out an Ice Lance or another move that is an opener. Ice Lance is an opener. He's across the screen. It's like, okay, what can I do now? I can 2-in-1. But what you'll see him do is he'll start stomping the ground, and these ice shards start coming up. So he can engage with the combo system from range, which is something that we wanted. We wanted each character to have a unique way to engage with the combo system. With Jago, it's around the world. With Saberwolf, it's the rabbit doubles. With Glacius, he's got these ranged auto doubles, which look really cool, feel really cool, and then he can just like cold shoulder you into some crazy bouncing hail combo, into another cold shoulder, into all kinds of crazy stuff. So he ends up being this really aggro kind of zoning character, which is something really, really unique.
One of the things Torn asked earlier was why did we make Glacius a zoning character? Yeah. And one of the reasons for that was we tried to think about, we were thinking about what Killer Instinct combos look like from range, from anywhere on the screen. Glacius is one of the best characters to visualize that with because he gets to make ice constructs, and he's just like, he hits his opener from full screen, and he gets to do auto doubles from full screen. And Glacius is uniquely equipped to do that by just like getting in a b-boy stance and making ice constructs all over the place, and it looks pretty awesome.
Yeah. Cool. So we have about 10 minutes left. So let's open it up to some more questions. Right there.
Thank you. I just had a quick question about that. The way you described Glacius, it sounds like he's incredibly powerful from full screen. What's the balance with that?
Get in his face. Again, I think what's
touchdown base like Marvel or something like that. That's why a lot of zoners have struggles. But if he ends up being, because you made the reference to Morgan, if he ends up being something like Morgan, what is your guys' counter incept?
So again, I think it's the interesting fight right now is the Saber versus Glacius, because Saber in Glacius's face, Glacius is definitely weak. Might be at 7-3, and then you get across the screen 3-7. So you end up with this interesting fight of can I get in, how do I get in, and then Glacius has all these finishers, like you said. If you're smart, Glacius versus Saber, your finishes are always the ones that chuck him across the screen. And if you can throw, his throw isn't, I'm going to put you down behind me. It's he spins and goes, pew, and he shoots you like 2/3 of the way across the screen. And then to what Campbell said, a lot of it is you've got these moves that take too many frames. People can just leave, but what if they start to jump? So you force them to jump, and then this guy Todd yesterday just nailed this stuff. He was constantly positioning himself perfectly. So as the dude's in the air, oh, look where he's landing. You know, or as he's landing the giant particle-y snow thing, is hitting him in the head as he lands. They're slow moves, but if you can get people, bait them into getting themselves into the wrong place, he's super strong. And the reality is, one of those wrong places is very close, but you can only react to it when he's right there. His best 2-in-1s actually are not here. So if I think about Jago, has a whole bunch of options that he can do from right in your face to 20 or 30 pixels back. Glacius, right in your face, he's kind of weak. You need to be back, not all the way across the screen. Starting at about 20 to 30 pixels to all the way across the screen, Glacius is strong because he's got this short down. He's got his one burst from the ground is right in front of him. It's an interesting challenge that, you know, again, I thought, oh, crap, I don't want to fight Dhalsim. And it's not like fighting Dhalsim. Because I fought his Dhalsim. It's not fun.
One thing I'm...
Right, so one of our design...
Oh,
no, Dave, go ahead.
Yeah. Is I think the bane of any zoning character is the hard knockdown. Because that allows you to get in. And what's great about the KI system and how everything sort of works together is each and every combo breaker is a hard knockdown. So even if he is getting a ranged combo on you, just break his ass once and then get in, right? So the systems all work together and you've got an opportunity.
Glacius is really weak on Wake Up, and that's one of the ways that we've solved this is, like Dave said, you get knockdowns on him, and he is pretty free, and you've got a great chance to mix up when you're close to him. And it's something we're going to keep adjusting, right? Yeah, and there's shadow counters as well. You have the ability to burn meter to actually counter any move on block stun, right? So you have a way to also counter that to be able to then immediately react. So with Saber, you can shadow counter it into a dash and be right at his feet. So does every character have all the tools we need to deal with everything in zone? I don't know yet. We're still in development. We're still going to work through that. And we still have a lot of characters that we haven't talked about yet. And all of them bring interesting nuances, and that's going to be a constant, you know, cycle challenge for the balance. But yeah, he's brutal. He's like, when we try to make a character, you know, that's specifically an aggressive zoner, right? We're carving new territory in some ways. So we'll keep working on that and keep tuning it and tweaking it so that everyone has a chance.
Right.
Thank you. Great answer.
Yeah, and to add to that, so to go back to the original design goal of Glacius, which is to make a zoning character that everybody can like. It should be very apparent whenever Glacius hits you that the Glacius player read you correctly. It's not that he's putting up the stuff and you don't know how to get through it. It's like, I knew you were going to be here, or I knew you were going to sit there, so I'm going to do this thing that counters it. So you never have to wade through like 10 billion fireballs or whatever. You generally have to deal with 1 or 2 things at a time. And if you are being kept out, you should feel like the other guy's earning it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sweet.
Vietnam is a good reference with that.
Yeah.
My understanding, the game is going to be based on a free-to-play model, right? And so I was curious in terms of like how are people going to be able to try characters?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of details about the game way it's going to be when it's launched that we're not talking about yet. But what we can talk about is that at launch you'll be able to play one character and you'll be able to play him like completely. So you'll be able to play Jago. You'll be able to play through just about all of his content. And the idea was that we want to get as many people as possible playing the game, getting into it, and getting into a fighting game. A fighting game is usually like $60. That's a pretty big investment for anyone. Maybe people who are like, hey, I want to play a fighting game, but $60 and it's pretty complicated, and you get online, you just get wrecked. That's not fun. So we want as many people as possible to engage with the game. We want as wide player base as possible. We want people to get in, play the game, and play. If you want to get one character, get one character. If you want to get all the characters, get all the characters. We want those options open to be.
Yeah, so I'll say that a little more. That was a great answer, but I'll say I'm the boss. I get to say it this way. No fucking way is this a free-to-play game. So what this is I want to get as many people as I can get playing the game. Period. Right? I want everybody who wants to play a fighting game to come in. I think the community in the 90s was bigger than it is today. The fighting game community is coming back. It's super awesome, super passionate. I expect the people that like KI, they get to play it. Again, I don't want to take anything for granted, but I'd like to think most people that have played the game and will see it and want to play it, they'll just buy it. That's what they'll do. But other people might want to just see what it's like. So here, have Jago. Play with the full online community. Play with everybody. Anybody you fight against, you can see how their characters fight. If you decide, well, really, I used to like just Glacius and Jago, well, then just buy Glacius. He's cheap. You don't have to buy the whole game. And then if you want to later come in and top off, we'll have a solution for that as well. So what we're trying to do here isn't like, and again, I actually love some of the free-to-play stuff out there, so I'm not trying to be harsh. And I like that some of the other games in the fighting community are trying to go after this space. That's just not what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is be as generous as we possibly can to get as many people into the community. And if that means take Jago for free and play for 5 years, awesome. Please come fight in our community.
When Killer Instinct 1 came out, they were kind of at the birth of fighting games. Street Fighter 2, Mortal Kombat, Killer Instinct, y'all were known. Y'all were the godfathers of fighting games. Well, now, I'd say we're kind of in the first-person shooter, real-time strategy. Fighting games are very saturated. So we're seeing lots of great games come out. Guys play it in the tournament scene, and then it's like, oh, now it's on live support. Everybody's going back to Street Fighter where they've invested time in. We are in a saturated market. I mean, are y'all looking at what it's going to take to keep it on top? Because I would love, just like some other games that come recently, I would love to see these games stay, maybe even take over some top spots. But it's, I know we're at a spot where these guys are totally invested. It's hard to get them to move over besides just a gimmick for a weekend.
Right. Well, for us at Double Helix, this is why we're at events like this. This is why we're stressing all about communities, because I want to make this game until, I'm like super, super old. Like for me, not. Well, that's just harsh, man. Anyway, I want to work on this game forever, as long as I can. And I like the idea of that this Killer Instinct is not just a game. It's something bigger than that, something that we can all participate in and grow together. So from our perspective, there's all these things in the market, but what we want to do is be that stepping stone, that bridge to what the FGC is, and then help support our community and help it grow and sustain it over time. So we want you to be fans of fighting games and fans of Killer Instinct, and to have that go beyond just the game.
Yeah, just to add real quick, we're not out to treat Killer Instinct like it's just we're just going to put the game out and drop it. We're treating this like a service. We're going to keep having updates. We're going to keep having characters. We're going to keep having new features. We're going to keep having things that people ask for and the community drives, right? We're treating this as a long-term investment on the Microsoft side. So, how do we keep it relevant? We're going to keep it relevant. We're going to keep moving it and evolving it and growing it. Does that mean that every year you're going to have to buy the game again? No, that doesn't mean that either. That is not our goal, right? Our goal is to keep evolving the series that you've bought into with the characters and the features and grow the game organically and just run it. And as long as there's passion for people to play, we will keep evolving it and we will keep growing the game.
I'd like to just jump on this as a, I was there back at Capcom when we did Street Fighter 2, then Champ, then Hyper, then Super, and that wasn't the way it was supposed to go, but we just kept doing that and selling our customers an upgrade, an upgrade, an upgrade. And that back then is kind of when things started to go south, and when the community starts feeling, God, I got to buy a new game, and we're seeing a little bit of that now. Is every time you turn around, there's like a new game, but it's really the same game. It's just kind of upgraded. It's just kind of a moving target. We want to, as players, get our investment back, not only on our money, but more importantly, our time. And that's one of the things that I'm so excited about with this, is that we're going to lay a base that we're going to grow. It's not going to be a moving target that your investment won't matter financially and also, more importantly, player time-wise, and you'll actually be able to help us grow that by giving us feedback, all the things that we're going to collect by feedback forums. And so, that's kind of the difference, and that's where this new evolution is going. And, we don't need to ship you the next thing and the next thing after that just to make money. We want to actually get the community huge. So,
cool. So I think we're out of time right now. Do we have time for one question more or two? Sure. Well, okay, let's take one more.
Until you tell us to stop, we'll keep going.
I don't work here. I went
Oh, sweet.
Lies, Destin. Lies.
We got our friend in the back, too. Sorry, you. Yeah.
Hey, I have a question. I see that the passion of the game, they're asking people to post in the forums and, trying to make this best game as they can. And I kind of see a resurgence of people who want to play this. It's been 18 years since KI came out. A lot of people are going to see it, and they're going to have memories, they're going to buy it again. Kind of like a Street Fighter 4 thing is going to happen. The fact that this game is going to launch as a digital-only copy, what are the chances that we're going to see an excellent strategy guide of the game? That's a good question.
I will answer this one.
Well, I'll talk about first. One of the things we're doing is we're taking training really seriously. I have to say, in my opinion, most training modes in most games suck, right? They make you do things that, do this do a fireball. Now do a 2-frame link, right? They don't teach you how to play the game. They don't teach you why moves are important. They don't teach you when situationally moves are important. There are some amazing guides that people have done throughout time for fighting games. There's a Makoto one for Street Fighter 4 called the Rinnegan Bible that's just amazing, that somebody took all this time and passion into putting into the game. And that was one of the templates I used when we started talking about how we should treat training and how we should treat people being able to learn the game. So a lot of what you're asking for, not all of it, but a lot of it is being covered by the way that we're approaching training modes, allowing you to set options that see the things that you want to know about, like how do I know when I can do autos in Windows? How do I know if I got the inputs right? Was that too fast or too slow on my inputs? All of that is stuff that we really are taking to heart to create a training and a practice mode that people can really learn the game, right? That's super, super important to us. I think that's super important to the fighting game community to grow it, right? We want people to be able to read and see the moves, be able to understand them, talk about them, and we want to give players the tools to do that. And some of that will be through the game, and some of that will be through things like Prima guides and all that, which we've got to talk to those guys about, but it's definitely something on the table. And we also have upload, right? Built into the Xbox One, we have the ability to create videos through Twitch. We have the ability to narrate. You guys can set up your own things and start making videos. So the community can also help drive a lot of the content creation and learning for the game. And you can just pull those up. Bam. Hey, let me see some training on this character. Boom. Oh, wow. Awesome.
Can you access that straight through the game?
Yes.
Yep. You can access it now. It's something that pops up as snapped. Yeah. The way upload works is you can open it up anytime on any game, and it knows what game you're playing and where you are and who you're using. So, for example, if you're using Saberwolf, you can just open up upload, and there's a bunch of Saberwolf videos. So it just solves the whole problem of discovery in a way that's, as people make more videos, then better videos will bubble up to the top. You can search them, you can follow them, you can treat it like a YouTube channel, but it's right there, snapped on the screen while you're playing your game.
And one additional thing that we're going to do, and some shout outs to Hector and the NetherRealm guys, because they did a really good job of it, is like in our moves list and our command list, we're going to also show all of our frame data and keep that up to date every time we. So yeah.
Yeah, the Injustice guys knocked that out of the park, right? They did an awesome job on showing you all that stuff, and we're not going to hide any of that from you either.
Sorry, go ahead.
Since I write strategy guides, I just want to say that a lot of limitations come from the developers. Like, I ask for everything on every guide I write for, and it's whatever they give to me. So if you guys, like, I don't know if I'm going to write the premium one or not, but if you guys give me everything I ask for, it will be an awesome guide.
Yeah, and that guy, just to let you guys know, is the guy that wrote that quick guide that you could get to on Shoryuken and other sites before going into E3. He's the one who wrote that for us, just because he loves KI. So, awesome, man.
Thank you. Okay, last one, right there. Right there.
Okay, I want to make it. I know there's going to be a couple of quick answers for this, but I'm going to try to make it quick. But all right, 2 questions. But first one, and this is both on storyline kind of questions. So first one is, ending-wise, are there going to be multiple endings based on performance or one ending per character? And then the second thing is, on storyline-wise, are we going to see it called like Killer Instinct 3 continuation from KI 1 and 2? Or is it going to be thrown away like we throw away everything out of the KI 1 or 2? Or is it going to be, the third choice would be like, yes, we're still going to throw away the KI 1 and 2, but we're going to add a couple of elements based on said.
Think of it as a new chapter. Think of it like the saga of KI1 and KI2 is over, and we're starting where we left off. But it's a brand new chapter for our heroes and villains. Possibly.
Well, how about ending-wise?
Ending-wise, we're looking into it. I know there's a ton of fan feedback, so we're also looking into multiple endings depending on performance. So it's something that we hear from you guys, and we're going to start looking into.
Yeah. And yeah, that's for us, I believe. Everyone's agreed, everyone said it, but that's the most important thing to us. We want to hear back from you guys. Definitely go to the Double Helix site, talk on forums, let us hear what you want to see in the game. We want to build this
Find
game
us on
with
Twitter.
you guys.
Yeah, Double Helix, Shoryuken, NeoGAF, we are all there. We all listen. We all read all the comments. So, I mean, just keep them coming.
Yeah, cool.
How many characters maybe are you planning on as range-wise then?
100.
We would love to just keep making characters as long as you guys want to play the game, right? So the roster, we want to just keep growing it, right? We're not talking about we're going to keep revealing characters at every show up to launch. So every show that we go to, you're going to get to play a character, and we're going to tease a new one. So tomorrow we're going to tease one here, and then we're going to have him playable or them playable. Oh, I said him.
Shim.
Thing.
I
don't know. Do we have such a menagerie of things? It's hard to say whether some things are female or male. Like if Riptor ever came out to be female, Ken, would that upset? I think it'd be kind of cool, actually. But anyway, so yeah, since we have such a menagerie, but yeah, we're going to keep growing the roster. Yeah, cool.
Riptor was a girl. Just not Riptor.
No, you're right. Actually, because the whole eggs at the end,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think that about wraps up. So thank you, everyone, for coming.
Thank you very much.